The monthly payment lies, and that lie can quietly cost you a fortune. Two people can earn the exact same salary, live in the same city, and spend the exact same amount on housing. Yet 10 years later, one can be hundreds of thousands richer than the other. That's the dangerous part. From the outside, both lives look identical. Same neighborhood, same income, same housing budget, same desire for stability. But beneath the surface, one decision is silently compounding wealth, while the other may be draining it. Meet Kevin. Kevin rents. He loves flexibility. No repair bills. No property taxes. No being trapped in one location. To Kevin, buying a home feels like chaining his future to a pile of debt. Now meet Justin. Justin buys. To him, renting feels like setting money on fire every single month. Every payment Kevin makes, Justin sees as money disappearing into someone else's pocket. And that's what makes this so fascinating. Both of them are smart. Both are disciplined. Both are convinced the other person is making a huge financial mistake. So who's right? Because this debate is bigger than emotion. It's bigger than what your parents said. It's bigger than what social media gurus scream in comment sections. This comes down to math, behavior, and time. But here's where most people get trapped. They compare a rent payment to a mortgage payment and stop there. That's the lie. Because the monthly number hides everything that actually determines wealth. It hides the mortgage interest silently front-loaded into early years. It hides rising rent. It hides taxes, insurance, maintenance, home appreciation, investment growth, and the biggest invisible force of all, opportunity cost. What happens to the money Justin locks into a down payment? What happens to the money Kevin invests instead? That's the real battlefield. And once you see it, you'll never look at rent versus buy the same way again. But before we break down the numbers, do me a quick favor. If you enjoy simple, straight-to-the-point finance breakdowns, hit subscribe right now. And drop a comment below. Are you Team Kevin or Team Justin? Because by the end of this video, a lot of people will switch sides. Now fast forward 10 years. One of them is quietly building freedom. The other may be funding someone else's. But the shocking part? It's probably not the one you think. So let's run the real math and find out who actually wins. In the beginning, Kevin looks like the genius. Same city, same lifestyle, same quality of home. But every month, Kevin pays less. Not dramatically less. Just enough to feel smart. Enough to create that quiet confidence that says, yeah, I made the right move. While Justin is wiring away a painful down payment, Kevin keeps that same cash invested in a simple index fund. No closing costs, no legal fees, no surprise paperwork, no giant check disappearing the moment he moves in. And that's where renting starts to feel powerful. Kevin's money stays liquid, flexible. Instead of locking tens of thousands into walls and a roof, that capital is now sitting in the market, compounding in silence. Every month, the portfolio inches higher. A little growth this week. A little more next month. Not flashy, but quietly powerful. And while Kevin sleeps peacefully, Justin gets his first taste of ownership reality. On property taxes, home insurance, a water heater issue, then routine maintenance, then another bill, then the brutal truth most first-time buyers never see coming. In the early years, the mortgage payment barely touches the principal. Most of it is interest. Month after month, Justin's payment feels huge. Yet the loan balance barely moves. That psychological hit matters. Because ownership feels like progress. But early on, it often doesn't look like progress at all. And this is where Kevin's confidence grows. If the AC fails at 2 a.m., the landlord handles it. Roof leak? Not his problem. Broken plumbing? One phone call. Kevin protects not just his cash flow, but his peace of mind. No repair stress. No emergency fund getting ambushed. No surprise $3,000 invoice ruining his month. Meanwhile, every dollar Kevin didn't spend on ownership costs keeps flowing into investments. And by the end of year one, the gap starts to show. By year two, it gets louder. By year three, on the surface, Kevin looks undeniably smarter. His portfolio is growing. His monthly costs stayed lean. His stress stayed low. And Justin? Justin has spent a fortune just to own. This is the phase where renting wins the optics battle. Friends look at Kevin's brokerage account and nod. They look at Justin's repair bills and mortgage statements and wonder why anyone would buy. Because short-term math has a way of making renting feel unbeatable. And honestly, for the first 3 years, Kevin may actually be ahead. This is the seductive part of renting. The early game feels efficient, cleaner, lighter, financially elegant. But wealth decisions are rarely judged in year 3. They are judged in year 10, year 15, year 20. Because the same simplicity that makes renting feel smart today can quietly hide what it costs tomorrow. And that's the trap. The first few years reward Kevin with visible wins, lower payments, higher liquidity, growing investments. Everything says he's winning. But easy monthly wins have a way of hiding expensive futures. The reversal never happens in a dramatic moment. No alarms, no headlines, no single month where Kevin suddenly realizes the game has changed. It happens quietly. So quietly that most people miss it. At first, Kevin barely notices the rent increase. A small bump at renewal. Nothing painful, just enough to shrug and say, that's normal. The next year it rises again, still manageable, still harmless, and still easy to justify, and that's why it's dangerous. Because rent doesn't hit like a shock. It drips. A little more this year, a little more the next. Slow enough to feel invisible. Meanwhile, Justin's world starts changing in the opposite direction. His mortgage payment stays fixed. Same principal. Same interest. Month after month, the number barely changes. But the value of money does. As inflation pushes salaries, prices, and rent higher, Justin's payment becomes cheaper in real terms. What once felt heavy now feels lighter. By year 5, the same mortgage that once stretched his budget now feels surprisingly manageable. This is where ownership starts rewarding patience. Because while Kevin's housing cost keeps climbing, Justin stays anchored in the past. And then the second force kicks in. Appreciation. The house itself starts rising in value. Not because Justin worked harder, but because time keeps moving and desirable assets tend to climb with it. This is invisible wealth. No paycheck, no stock app notification, no exciting alert. Just quiet growth happening behind the walls he lives in every day. Then comes the real acceleration. Principal paydown. In the early years, Justin's mortgage was mostly interest. Now the balance starts shifting. A larger slice of every payment attacks the principal. The loan begins shrinking faster. Equity starts stacking from 2 directions at once. The home value rising and the debt balance falling. That's when the math quietly flips. Somewhere between year 5 and year 7, Kevin's portfolio is still growing. But Justin's equity begins pulling ahead. And the reason is leverage. Justin didn't need to invest the full value of the house. A relatively small amount of cash, his down payment, gave him control over a much larger appreciating asset. That means a 5% rise in home value isn't growing just his cash. It's growing the value of the entire property. This is the force most renters underestimate. Kevin's money compounds linearly through investments. Justin's wealth compounds through leverage, appreciation, and accelerating equity. Same city, same income, same lifestyle. But now, the scoreboard is changing. From the outside, the monthly costs still looked similar. But their net worths were now moving in opposite directions. Now the story gets brutally honest. 10 years have passed. Same city, same salary path, same starting point. But now we stop debating feelings and open the scoreboard. First, Kevin. Over 10 years, Kevin has paid a massive amount in rent. Month after month, year after year, every lease renewal added a little more. Nothing shocking in isolation, but stacked across a decade, the total becomes staggering. A mountain of money left his account just to preserve the right to stay. To Kevin's credit, he didn't waste the advantage. He invested the down payment he never used. He consistently added the difference between renting and buying into an index fund. And that portfolio did exactly what disciplined investing does. It compounded. Quietly. After 10 years, Kevin's account has grown into something impressive. A real asset. the kind of number that makes renting advocates feel validated. And for a moment, it looks close. Very close. Then we open Justin's side. Justin paid the mortgage for 10 years. He also carried the ugly costs Kevin avoided: property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, closing costs. On paper, Justin spent more. That's what makes this reveal so powerful, because spending more does not automatically mean losing. Behind those costs, something else was building the entire time: equity. Every mortgage payment slowly reduced the debt. Every year, appreciation lifted the value of the home. And after 10 years, those two forces have compounded into a number that surprises almost everyone. Justin's net worth lead is now undeniable. Not because his monthly payment looked better, not because ownership was easier, but because time transformed every painful early payment into ownership, leverage, and growth. This is where the deeper truth appears. Kevin still has a bill that never stops rising. Next year, another renewal. In another negotiation, another increase, another reminder that the clock resets forever. Justin's obligation works differently. The balance keeps shrinking. The finish line keeps getting closer. Every year removes uncertainty. Every payment buys more control. And that control changes life in ways spreadsheets often miss. Kevin still lives under landlord decisions. Lease renewals can change everything. A sale of the property could force relocation. A rent spike could disrupt the family budget overnight. A move could mean changing schools, commutes, routines, and stability. Justin controls the space, the timeline, the environment his family builds memories inside. That emotional stability has financial value too. Predictability lowers stress. Control improves planning. And long-term planning is where real wealth compounds. So yes, Kevin built a strong investment account, but Justin built wealth and reduced future housing uncertainty. That's why by year 10, Justin's lead often keeps widening, because one path compounds ownership, the other compounds dependency. And that's the deeper lesson most people miss. The real cost of renting was never the payment. It was the fact that it never ends. So after everything, who actually wins? Kevin or Justin? Here's the honest truth most finance channels won't say: buying does not always win. And pretending it does is how people trap themselves in terrible financial decisions. Because this was never a battle between good and bad. It was always a battle between time horizon, behavior, and life design. If you're staying in a city for less than 5 years, renting can absolutely be the smarter move. The math often favors flexibility. Closing costs eat into short-term ownership gains. Selling expenses punish fast exits. And appreciation needs time to do its real work. In that situation, Kevin's path can outperform, especially in high-cost markets where home prices are stretched far beyond what rent would justify. In cities like that, buying can quietly become an emotional decision disguised as a financial one. Then there's career flexibility. If your job could change cities, industries, or even countries, renting protects your options. Freedom has value. The ability to move fast for opportunity can be worth far more than forced equity. But there's one condition most people ignore. Renting only wins if the savings are actually invested. Not spent, not lifestyle inflated, not quietly absorbed into nicer dinners, bigger cars, and impulse purchases. Kevin only won his side of the story because he had disciplined investing habits. Without that, renting becomes convenience without compounding. Now let's be just as honest about when Justin's path wins. Buying dominates when life needs long-term stability. A predictable home base, a fixed payment. A plan built around children, schools, routines, and emotional consistency. In that world, the mortgage becomes more than debt. It becomes an inflation hedge. While rent keeps rising with the economy, a fixed mortgage lets time work in your favor. Your income may grow, prices may rise, but your largest payment stays anchored. That predictability becomes even more powerful as retirement approaches. A renter can face housing costs forever. A homeowner gets closer each year to eliminating one of life's biggest expenses, and that changes everything. Retirement predictability isn't just about numbers, it's about peace. It's about knowing your future self won't be negotiating shelter costs in your 60s and 70s. So what's the real mistake? It's not renting. It's not buying. The real mistake is making a lifetime decision from a monthly payment, because the monthly payment is the most emotionally persuasive number, and often the least important one. The smarter question is, what future am I building? The smartest people don't just choose the cheaper payment. They choose the future they can actually afford, the future their psychology can sustain, the future their family can grow inside, the future their career can support. That's why Kevin and Justin can both win. Not because one strategy is magical, but because the right strategy is the one aligned with the life you're truly building. So now the question turns to you. Are you Kevin or Justin? Drop rent or buy in the comments. And if you enjoy simple, straight-to-the-point finance breakdowns that actually help you build freedom, make sure you subscribe. Because the next financial decision you make could quietly shape the next 10 years of your life.